Hello, my name is Sarvesh Patil and I am from Team Control Alt Elite. The application that we have built in EthIndia 2023 is eSwap, a crypto power API marketplace. Now let's move on to the introduction. So what happens is that the students and the developers that are looking for APIs of various other companies such as OpenAI and Twitter, the companies charge a huge amount of money for using that APIs. But some developers look for APIs only for the testing purpose and for limited amount of time. They don't want a complete package of the API key. They just want to test their applications using that particular API key. So for that purpose, we are building this solution wherein the users will be able to rent out API keys to other users that are in need of that particular API key. Now moving to the problem was that while purchasing the API keys, the credit card information and KYC must be done to purchase that particular API key. Also, the unnecessary costs are to be measured because some of the API keys don't get utilized completely, and also the limited duration flexibility options would be a great advantage for the developers. And in API key exchanges also there are security concerns. So for that purpose, we are building a solution. So this is the architecture of the product. The user will open the browser and sign into the application using MetaMask, and the MetaMask will be the provider between the marketplace and the Ethereum blockchain. So we are using the Graph API to read all the happenings on the blockchain and provide analysis to the user. And the L2 scaling solutions that we are using is Scroll, Sepolia, Polygon, and Arbitrum. Now moving on to the flowchart, there are two portals. One is the buyer portal and the one is the seller portal. On the buyer portal, the buyer will be able to see all the listed APIs, and if the APIs are available, he can buy. And on clicking on buying the API, he can then chat with the seller. And if the API key is available if the API key is available and it is working, then buyer will confirm the buy. Else, the buyer can cancel the buy and get all the refund. Now moving on to the seller portal, the seller will be able to list APIs, and if the buyer wants to buy that particular API, he can chat with the buyer and send the API key using the XMPP protocol. So the tech stack that we are using are Scroll, Sepolia for deploying the contracts, XMPP for the chat application, Graph for listening to the happenings on the blockchain and giving analysis, and for frontend we are using React.js for making contracts. We are using Solidity and WAGMI for wallet connection. Now moving on to the future scope. In the future, we can include various other APIs ecosystems such as various other ecosystems and integrate with other currencies as well, such as Bitcoin. Our application can be can act as a proxy and as proxy as an endpoint, wherein the sellers and buyers won't connect directly, but will connect using our application. The next future scope is renting virtual machines and cloud services as well. We can also provide AI-powered recommendation engines to recommend APIs based on the previous history of the purchases of the buyer, and then we can also send a notification to the seller when a buyer wants to connect with him. So moving on to the demo of the application. So this is the homepage of our application. The buyer will be able to click on the buy button to go to the buyer page where all the available APIs will be listed. Suppose I want to purchase an API with this price 0.121429, then I can click on buy and simply the MetaMask will pop up and I can confirm the transaction. And after confirming, I can go to the dashboard wherein I will be able to see the purchase that I have made just now. The purchase that I have made, it is taking some time. Yeah, I got it. This is the purchase, and suppose I want to connect with the seller to get the API key. I can simply click on connect to XMTP to chat. Now the MetaMask wallet will pop up, and I will sign the transaction. And I can see I have the open chat button. On clicking on open chat, the chat window will open. And if we go to the seller side as well, this is the seller dashboard. On the seller dashboard, the seller will be able to see what currently item is getting sold. So this is the current transaction. He can also connect to the XMTP to chat with the buyer. I will sign the transaction, and I can click on open chat. If the seller wants to send the API key, suppose this is the API key ABCD, he can send the API key, and the buyer will be able to see the API key from here, and then he can use the API key. Suppose the seller doesn't send a API key, the buyer can simply click on cancel transaction. So this was the buy and sell of the buy and sell of the APIs. The buyer will be able to see the previous orders that he had made over here, and the previous API sellings that he had made over here in this table. So this was the demo of our application. Thank you.